Let's say, hypothetically, that your sister got possessed by an evil fairy. Now let's say for the sake of argument she kills herself. Let's say she stabs herself. Does it not make sense to turn her into a robot waifu? I'm just saying that if Abby was to sacrifice herself, I would make sure to put her Mega Milkers to good use. Orcust is a fun deck that rewards players who learn the combos, and is fairly resilient in the vein of Burning Abyss, Phantom Knights, or Gookie, in that the engine can keep adapting to new cards to remain a rogue deck. However, unlike Burning Abyss, it isn't based off gay Christian fanfiction, instead focusing on music. And when I say music, I mean real music. Okay, none of this rap bullcrap that sounds like shit. The Orcust main deck has 5 monsters. Harp, cymbals, and brass can banish from grave to summon an Orcust, but lock you into darks for the rest of the turn. This doesn't matter, because darks are completely overpowered. Okay? We don't need to summon Appaloosa when we can make much stronger cards instead. The next 2 are Knightmare, who banishes from grave to foolish any dark machine, and Girsu, who foolishes any Orcust or World Legacy and summons a token to start combos with. He can also become a tuner for Needle Fiber, if that ever gets unbanned. Brass is a level 1 tuner. For World Legacy, we have Wonder Wand. If it's sent to grave, we can summon a World Legacy from our hand, so sometimes you get an extra body on field. And if it's in grave, we can banish to special summon any banished machine, which lets us recycle our Orcusts. Then in the extra, there are 4 monsters. Orcustrian is useless. It's a link 4 which can negate the effects of opponents' monsters, but only if they are linked. It's not even a quick effect unless you control the field spell. And at that point, it's APO but more restrictive materials and needs monsters in specific zones. Next, we have Girsu. He has a send to grave effect. It doesn't target, but again, it needs the field spell out to provide utility. And we have other link 3 monsters we could go into instead. Then we have dingirsu, an XYZ monster that can use any Orcust link as the entire material, and has a detach effect to protect our monsters from destruction. On summon, we either attach a banished card as a mat, or send an opponent's card to grave. Finally, we have Galatea, who is best girl, okay? Ray is 13, Galatea is an immortal robot. It's no contest, really. Galatea shuffles 1 monster into the deck to search any Orcust spell or trap. Most of them are useless, but there are 2 we use. Babel is a field spell which turns all our monster effects into quick effects, so we can fire them off on our opponent's turn. Crescendo is an omni-negate that requires an Orcust link monster on the field, and we can banish it from the grave to add a banished dark machine back to hand. But this locks us into only dark machine monsters for that turn, and the effects are mutually exclusive. After them comes Bardiche, a Phantom Knights link that sends any PK to grave to search a spell or trap. With Boots and Cloak, we get a free monster on board and 2 searches, which are used for either Brigandine, a free extra body, or Fogblade, an effect negation. He also pops card if a dark XYZ is summoned to our field, which means when Ding is summoned, we can blow something up, then use Ding on summon effect to send something else to pick open a board. If Babel is on field, you can use Cymbals to summon Ding during the opponent's turn. You get both effects. Now I'm going to explain the scrap combo. This is the most popular way to play Orcusts right now. Raptor kills himself to give us a second normal on scrap monsters and searches any scrap. Recycler sends any machine from deck to grave on summon. Wyvern summons any scrap, then destroys a card. And when a scrap is destroyed, summons any scrap from deck and destroys a card. And Golem summons any level 4 or lower scrap from the grave. Golem and Recycler aren't once per turn, by the way. So we use Fossil Dig or Scrapyard to get Raptor, Raptor to get Recycler, Recycler send Crystron Rose, Rose banishes to summon a token, Recycler plus token is Wyvern. If you opened with a spell, you set it, Wyvern summon Recycler and pops it. Recycler misses timing. Wyvern then summons Golem from deck and either kills himself or the spell you set. Golem summon Recycler send Wonder Wand. Golem plus Recycler summon Lib. Lib search Succession. Succession summon Golem summon Recycler send Nightmare. Then use Nightmare which locks us into darks to send Haarp to grave. Now we use Wand to summon Nightmare. Link it and Golem into Galatea. Use Haarp and Grave to summon Cymbals. Shuffle Haarp for Babel. Link Cymbals and Galatea into Bardiche. Use Cymbals to revive Galatea. Summon Ding and attach Cymbals. Bardiche sends Ancient Cloak for Brigandine. Cloak adds Boots. Boots summons himself because Bardiche, Brigandine instantly activates because you have no traps in grave. Brigandine is a normal monster, so can't make Verti. But it and Boots can make IP to make Apo on the opponent's turn. You could replace Brigandine with a second Fog Blade to resist Dark Ruler. I'm using it here because I have a foil and wanted to show it off. If If you had a spell for Wyvern, you can make Verti, turn Lib into a dark monster, and use her instead of Galatea for Bardiche, which then lets you have 2 Galatea, 1 for Crescendo and 1 for Ding, and ends with DPE on board. If you have Wonder Wand in hand, you summon it during the combo, and do the same thing. If you have an Orcust in your opening hand, you add Brass into that combo, though where you add depends on if the card in your hand is Knightmare, Haarp, or Cymbals. In any case, you can replace Babel with Crescendo for an Omni instead of a double destruction. Now let's say, for the sake of argument, that you wanted to play Orcust, but hated how inconsistent it is. Would it not make sense for you to add more consistency cards to make the deck stronger? I see a lot of people complaining about Scrap Golem. This is because the magnets in your dual disc will cause you to draw him 50% more often than any other Garnet. The solution is obvious. We add another Golem, so even when we draw him, we still have 1 in deck and can do our combo. But if you have 2 Golems in a 40-card deck, he is 5% of the deck. You draw 5 cards, so that's 25% chance to open with him, plus the 50% increased draw chance, so you lose 3/4 of your games, okay? I'm playing a 60-card deck. 60 is 50% bigger than 40, so I have a 25% chance to draw him in my opening hand. So I win 50% more games, understand? These stupid liberals will try and tell you that more cards makes your deck less consistent, but then they also start crying every time I make them touch grass because they're wrong and dumb, and L plus ratio. So we add in 2 Fusion Destiny, Dasher and Denier, 4 more cards that aren't Scrap Golem, which makes our deck even more consistent. Now what happens if our opponent hits use with a hand trap mid-combo? We go into Verti instead, and at least have some disruption on our opponent's turn. You may also have heard that Orcust loses to every hand trap, so I'm running Called by the Negate Them, and also the Neo-Space package at 3, so hand traps are a non-issue. With all these cards, we can afford to run soft Garnets like psy-frame Driver. A 1 in 60 chance at drawing him is so small, it's basically impossible, okay? So we also have Gamma to negate the Ash on Fossil Dig or maxx and Standby. And because Gamma is a Psychic level 2, I run 2 copies of E-Telly to summon him, which then leads into the P.u.n.k engine. That's 1 Seaman, 1 Deer, and 1 Foxy. Using punks or triggering Gamma gets you to Chaos Ruler and can get Orcusts into the grave, while E-Telly means you don't lose your normal summon like with Scrap Tor. So if you do get hit with Ash or Imperm, you can normal any Orcust you drew and hard summon Galatea. Go into a smaller combo from there. Otherwise, Chaos Ruler leads into the possibility for big combos by himself by putting bodies in grave. I'm also running 1 Scythe and Dadga, though the Orcusts locking into Dark means Dagda needs to be summoned early in the combo. Orcust already has good grind game, so we throw in 3 Nemeses Corridor for Thunder Dragon Colossus to have even better resource recycling and a stronger end board. If we summon by cycling rows, that's before the Dark Lock, then we can go into Colossus easily, and it also works if our opponent uses Called By on the Raptor or Recycler. With the Neo-Space package and Colossus, I feel like I'm right back in TOS format, with Matt Walsh playing his Sky Strikers and Jordan Peterson crying about Chaos Thundra decks. IP Masquerena is a useful card since the Dark Lock on Orcust is, until the end phase, we can link into APO on the opponent's main phase, and she's also invincible. Unless you have Babel on the field and use your Orcust effects in the draw phase. So don't use Orcust effects during draw phase, okay? Keep it until after you summon APO. During the editing of this video, Ishizu cards dropped. I only have 1 Kelbeck, so I can't talk definitively about their power level in Master Duel. But from playing with them during Tier 0, I think there'll be good cards for Orcust going forward, especially with the Chaos P.u.n.k engine, so if you have them, you can drop the Neos and Corridor packages. Also, there is Armageddon Knight, who can 1-card combo the Orcusts and leads into PK or Gookie variants. The PK variant is okay since we run Bardisha anyway, but Gookie or Warrior toolboxes are awful because you need 4 equips for Isolde to make Armageddon, with about 2 actually usable ones. Urgent Schedule can summon Scrap Recycler and Golem with the effects negated to summon Wyvern. However, it only works if your opponent controls a monster, so you have to either be going second or get hit by a Gamma. And if a Golem is in hand, then you summon the other from deck so you can't combo with Wyvern, which kills the combo. It's completely inconsistent, a childish fantasy that this would work in a best of 1 like Master Duel. Run it in the side if you play IRL though, and if Gamma becomes more popular, it is a decent tech option.